gentlemen, welcome to Destiny Education Hanging with the Fellas podcast with your host, Toina.
Hey, gentlemen, how are you tonight? It's 7 o'clock Tuesday. You know, my favorite day of the week, as always. I am super excited to be here with you and really excited for our topic for discussion tonight. Very excited. We're talking tonight about corrupted women. So let me ask you something. Have you ever had an experience where you thought you met the woman of your dreams and she turned out to be your absolute worst nightmare? Have you ever had a situation where you met a woman and thought this could be something, and it turned out to be something that you ended up running from? Well, that's exactly what we're talking about tonight, are those women who are corrupted. And generally, those types of women that you run from, they are the ones who fall into this subject. So tonight's scripture reading, we're going to come out of Proverbs 5 and 3. I'm sorry, chapter 5, verses 1 through 14. We're going to start there and set the foundation, and then we will go into our discussion. My son, pay attention to my wisdom. Listen carefully to my wise counsel. Then you will show discernment, and your lips will express what you've learned. For the lips of an immoral woman are as sweet as honey, and her mouth is smoother than oil. But in the end, she is as bitter as poison, as dangerous as a double edged sword. Her feet go down to death, her steps lead straight to the grave, for she cares nothing about the path to life. She staggers down a crooked trail and doesn't realize it. So now, my sons, listen to me. Never stray from what I am about to say. Stay away from her. Don't go near the door of her house. If you do, you will lose your honor and will lose to merciless people all you have achieved. Strangers will consume your wealth, and someone else will enjoy the fruit of your labor. In the end, you will groan in anguish when disease consumes your body. You will say, "How I hated discipline. If only I had not ignored all the warnings. Oh, why didn't I listen to my teachers? Why didn't I pay attention to my instructors? I have come to the brink of utter ruin, and now I must face public disgrace." Wow. I don't think there is a better passage in the Bible to explain to you what it looks like when you end up with a corrupted woman. Some of you have experienced that, and it usually results in you losing half or more of everything that you own. There's definitely corrupted men too, but that's not what tonight's topic is about. It's about the women. Because let me explain something that's a little bit different when it's a woman who is corrupted. First off, how do women become in this place that's called corrupted, or what the Bible calls evil or wicked women? It generally starts with a negative male experience. And so the relationship with their father, uncles, someone, it's not uncommon that it involves some form of sexual or physical abuse, but there's some type of deprivation that the woman suffered. And that's usually what brings about that level of behavior. And so here are some of the signs that you will see when you're dealing with a corrupted woman. Number one, she's clingy. She is attached to you all the time. She constantly wants to know where you're going. She doesn't give you freedom. She thinks that you have to report in even when you're out. Now, we're not talking about, normal things when you're out with your boys and you pick up the phone and say, "Hey, I just wanted to see what you're up to and how you were doing." We're not talking about this. This is different. This is like a prison sentence, and you're dealing with a warden, and the warden is constantly keeping you under lock and key. Now, some of you men who are corrupted, you will see average regular behavior as this, but that's because you have problems. Those aren't her problems. These types of issues that I'm talking about are very specific. So she constantly thinks that you're cheating and has no reason to have ever thought that you were cheating. Like you've not done anything, you've not gone out, you've not been unfaithful. Um, she constantly wants to know where you are because she doesn't want you finding another woman. That purpose, the reason behind that is usually because the way that you provide for her, she doesn't want to have to give up. What is it that you give her? That's what you would have to look at. Next, these types of women, they hide your money. They hide your money with the expectation of keeping you stuck there. So that way you can't run if you wanted to. What that would look like is she has $30,000 in an account, but the house account has 500 and she doesn't work. Following me? That's what that looks like. Corrupted women always put themselves first. Everything in their life is about them. Everything in your life is supposed to be about them. And everything in the life of your children has to be about them as well. She is not happy unless she is the center of attention in the entire household. So, how do you end up with this kind of woman? Well, it's because when someone gave you wisdom, you chose not to listen. So, God willing, tonight will be that night that you begin to listen. The lips of an immoral woman are as sweet as honey. Whenever you try to walk away, whenever something comes up, things like that, she's very quick to say, I love you. I don't want us to go away. I just don't understand why you aren't seeing things. Like you're making these issues. You're saying these things. You're going out to spend. You don't want to spend any time with me. You don't want to take me out to dinner. It's all about what you're not doing. She will tell you how much she loves you and how much she enjoys her time with you and how she just doesn't want to have to live without you. All the things that you really want her to say, she will say. And it doesn't have to be those that I listed in the example. You know what you want to hear. And those are the things that she'll say to you to make sure that no matter how angry you get at her, you're secure. You're not going to take away her meal ticket. Her mouth is smoother than oil. Well, as we all know, oil coats things. And so it's very soft to the touch. And that when you rub oil on something, a pan or what have you, it leaves a film. I want you to pay very close attention to the fact that oil leaves a film because that film, when we're talking about a corrupted woman or an immoral woman, that film is the cloth of nastiness that she leaves on you. There's a part of you that feels like she really does love me, but there's another part of you that knows something is off here and you really can't put your finger on it. You see, these are part of the problems that happen when you jump into sexual relationships with people without getting to know them. This is the type of stuff that they get on you and they fill you with. And now before you know it, you're trapped. The word says in verse 4, but in the end, she is as bitter as poison and as dangerous as a double-edged sword. So that means that what she's carrying on the inside is so grotesque and nasty. The only thing she can bring you is death. There's no life in this woman. There's nothing that makes you want to be better. There's nothing that drives you to do more. All that happens is you just lose energy. You lose the ability to move forward. Your dreams start going by the wayside. And if you think about a double-edged sword, what is sharper than a sword with two double edge, with two sharp edges? I mean, it slices through bone, it slices through everything. Think about a samurai sword. Her feet go down to death, her steps lead straight to the grave, for she cares nothing about the path to life. She staggers down a crooked trail and doesn't realize it. I love that part about it because what that tells you is that while a woman can begin as corrupted, the reality is that there comes a time when she can come out of that, okay? So not all women who appear to be corrupted truly are. But more times than not, the old adage, if it looks like a duck and it walks like a duck, it's a duck, applies. So I want you to remember that. These are the type of women who, like I have said, will take you straight to the grave. They're going to sap every hope, dream, spirit, everything out of you. So now, my sons, listen to me. Never stray from what I'm about to say. Stay away from her. Don't go near the door of her house. These are the women who lure you in, and they often lure you in sexually. They want to bring you in and do new things and try new things. But those worlds, whoo, those worlds get wild and crazy and they go dark very quickly. If you do, you'll lose your honor and you'll lose to merciless people all you have achieved. I want you to think about a time in life where you were attracted to a woman or you married a woman and it resulted in your demise, where everything you lost, everything that you had built, you lost. You see, it doesn't matter what your level is. If you look at billionaires, for example, although lately a lot of them, it's been the male who's done it. So we're not going to use those for an example. Um, Here's how I want you to understand this. A corrupted woman is after one thing and one thing only, and that's money. She wants to have fun. She wants to play. She wants freedom. And that freedom comes at your expense. And so she will take all your stuff, go spend it on her friends, go spend it on new boyfriends, and they will all enjoy the fruit of what you work so hard to achieve. And in the end, you sit back, stuck in pain and hurting and wondering why. Why? Why did I make this decision? It's often because we were blinded. We get blinded by things that, according to the Bible, are not vitally important to us. Beauty is important for everybody. I mean, we all know how that goes, but it is not the number one deciding factor. If the beauty doesn't first emanate from what's inside, then you have nothing. If you don't see her being kind, if you don't see her reaching hands out, if she doesn't come to you and say, "Let's get this together. How can we?" And understand this, that Proverbs 31 women are always going to talk in different ways. You have to find the one whose voice resonates with your ears because that's how you will be drawn. That's how you will be able to hold together through the hard times, and you won't be in a position where you constantly feel like she's attacking you. Because if you're coming from that place where you constantly feel like the Proverbs 31 woman is attacking you, it's because something inside of you is broken and it has to be fixed before you guys can move that relationship to another level. You see, a Proverbs 31 woman knows this one secret. And that one secret is that if you and I are not agreed, can we walk together? It's Amos 3:3. Can two people walk together lest they be agreed? She knows that you're never going to build, you're never going to get anywhere if the two of you aren't in agreement. A corrupted woman, she doesn't see that. What she sees is that if it has to be her way or no way. And these are the women who take you straight down that path because they will send you out, go get this, I want Gucci. And you're running around chasing your tail, trying to give them everything, thinking that this is a real relationship. It's not. It's not. And what it becomes is an addiction. And this is the part that I really want to dive into in this last few minutes that we're together. It's the addiction of a negative relationship. Because just like alcohol, cigarettes, whatever the drug of choice is, it creates this need, this hunger for it. And the longer you're in it, the more you need it. And then when it comes time that you begin to realize, oh my God, this isn't working, now you have to try and pull out of this relationship that literally you're like stuck in. And it's like being on a yo yo. So, the reason that you so often will see people go back and forth is that they don't understand. And as with any addiction, when you leave, if you go back, the addiction gets harder to get rid of the next time. Every time somebody tries to quit using or drinking or whatever that issue is, the first time, it can be pretty easy, but then if they go back, the second time is harder, and then harder and harder and harder, and it gets to the point where it's so complicated, people just don't wanna try. These addictions have to be broken because they literally take years off of your life. They suck every iota of desire out of you. And the thing that I want you to always understand is that these type of people are always going to talk to you in a way that makes you to blame. You're the reason. You're not doing this right. You're not doing that right. This isn't what you're doing. And this is how they will talk to you to always twist it so that it's not their fault, but it is always your fault. And so you sit back and you go, "Did I do that? Did I?" And that's when you get into the manipulations, the gaslighting, all of that. And now what you've got to do is you've got to try and clear your head to be able to let go. And I'm gonna tell you that the addiction withdrawals you will go through are no joke. You literally will shake, depending on how long you've been in this situation. Anything 3 months or longer, you will have shakes. You'll feel like you're lost. You'll feel like you lost a limb. You'll feel empty inside. And it's not the same kind of heartbreak that you feel when a relationship ends. It literally feels like the life is being sucked out of you and like the air is gone and you can't breathe and you feel this need for this person. That's how you know you got to run. So, how do you deal with that when you're in that space? I always recommend that people go on a trip, get away into a new area. And whenever you say that, here's the first thing people think. They think Fiji, Bahamas. No, no, just go to another city. If you live in San Francisco, go to San Diego. Like it's a quick drive down there. You can do it in a weekend, but it gives you a break. The following weekend, go to another city within driving distance. It doesn't have to be some $30,000 trip unless you want it to be. These are the things that you have to start doing. You've got to start living a different life from what you were doing with that person. Now, here's the thing. These types of corrupted women will always circle back. They will always come back and want to see how you're doing. And when they see you doing well, they'll hook you. They'll do their best to hook you in. Things have changed. Nothing is the same. It's different. And you can say, it ain't different. No, I'm telling you, I will do things differently. Mm-mm, they will not. And if you choose to go back, you will reap more than what you had. Oh God, so much more than what you had. It'll be 1,000 times worse than what you went through the first time. It will make the first time look like a cakewalk. And every time they cycle back and they hook you, it gets just like the addiction and trying to quit, it gets worse and worse and worse. And I want you to understand that because I have watched men lose their life to these types of women. And they'll go in young and vibrant, filled with dreams. And if they get out, it's they're broken and destroyed. And trying to get them to pick up the pieces and move forward is a nightmare. You've gotta start getting yourself out of that situation. Go travel off to a city nearby, explore something you haven't done before, and don't allow yourself to focus on the things that would have appeared good. Because, see, with these types of corrupted women, they always leave enough that when you walk, it still feels like if she were here, we'd be having fun. If she were here, we'd be doing this, but that's not the truth. The truth is that if she were there, you would have a few minutes of fun and then it would be a nightmare the rest of the time. It would be awful. And you have to remember that in the midst of all of this. You have to hold on to that truth at all costs because without it, you don't have anything to pull you out of the darkness. So remember that a corrupted woman will always bring nothing but darkness, and that darkness is impossible to see through. As you begin to break through that shield, that barrier of darkness, she will fight to present herself more like light. It's amazing how it just demonstrates everything that the Bible talks about, how the angel, the demon can present himself as an angel of light, but really that's not what he is. That's exactly how you what you see model when you're dealing with a corrupted woman. And so one of the other way, another, let me give you a few ways to avoid that. Hold off on being quick to jump into bed. You gotta be able to see what it is that they are offering so that you can make a decision with your mind clear. As long as your mind is clear, you're going to make a great decision. But if you start fogging it up with intimacy too early, you'll start deciding on the wrong things. You'll handle things and take things that you wouldn't ordinarily take, right? Next, sit down and have real conversations and listen. Have 3 questions that you want her to answer and see if the answers you're given are of substance. Because one of the things about corrupted women, just like corrupted men, they never answer a question in depth. They will give you some superficial, sugar coated answer that doesn't make any sense within the context of that conversation. They don't have the ability to go down into depths. They can't analyze things on a normal human being level. So, we're not talking about over analyzing. We're talking about simple analyzing. Like, hey, what do you think of the steak? It was juicy. Okay. Is that it? Yeah. I mean, is there anything more you can say about a steak? Of course there is. It was tender, it was juicy, the smells, the aromas, these are the things that we can get into. And if she can't do that, if she's unwilling to do that, you might really want to look at why you're choosing someone who won't have that because you've got to be able to look down the road to where that goes. When we're having a financial discussion, is she gonna be able to hold the conversation? Absolutely not. If she can't tell you that a steak smells good, she surely is not gonna be able to have a financial conversation. Walk away, because I'll tell you what, a bad marriage, you'd rather be single because a bad marriage is so destructive on so many levels. So many levels. Your personal life, your mind, your health, your physical abilities, the way you see the world, your hope factor, all of that, your ability to be grateful, all gets sucked away when you are in a marriage with someone who lies to you, who constantly you have to think about and understand where they're coming from and figure out what angle they're dealing with this time. I mean, it's exhausting. You will not be the same person you were before the relationship at the end of that relationship. And now you have to go find that person and you've got so many scars on your inside that there's no turning around. So, well, you can always turn around. God can fix everything, but it will take time. And I don't want to see you go through that because it's not worth it. In the end, it is not worth it. The pain is greater than anything you could imagine. On that happy note, it is time to wrap up. I can't wait to see you next weekend. Next week. Next week, we're going to be talking about the middle. And I can't wait to have that discussion with you because the middle is that part where everything looks super dark and you're really not sure if it's going to work out. It's going to be a dynamic episode. So don't miss it next week. All right. Have a great rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend. And I'll see you next Tuesday.